Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to do a bit of a reorganization, mainly because I have a new TBR cart. So my trusty original behind me has lasted just over a year, but the more I look at it, the more of a mad lean it is getting. Like seriously. I know you probably can't see it very well on the camera, and when I record my TBR videos, you probably can't see it that well just because of how it's sitting. But I'm going to show you a clip straight on that I'm going to now film with my phone so you can see. And I'm just going to apologise for lighting. I am doing this in the evening because I've been working. So yeah, hopefully it's not too bad, but this is just more so you can get a good sort of overview of what this one's looking like and why I needed a new one. So I think this far zoomed out, you can see it's mad lean to the left. I don't feel like I weigh it down more on the left or anything. I'll be honest, I think what it is, so I bought a very cheap plastic cart, as you can see. Let me show you in detail. It's very flimsy plastic. It literally just slotted together. So it was very easy to build when I first got it, and it served its purpose, but you can see where some of the plastic is taking stress. And I think what it is mainly is it's the wheels. So you can see they're like bulging out here. The wheels just kind of like slotted in when I got this one. So I think that's where it's getting its lean from. And also it sits on this very plush carpet. It's very thick carpet in here. And so I think it just sort of sinks in and breaks. So I'm hoping I don't have that issue with my new one. But yes, sadly, it is time to retire this one. It has been great for my first year, but I was like, I use this so much, I need a new one. So I thought if I'm gonna sit here and empty the whole cart and swap it out, I may as well do a little bit of a TBR sort out and rearrange. I know I didn't do that long ago, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much in this video, though I'll show you a little bit of what I do. But I just want to get it all neat again, because obviously I have had new books since and they're not all in this section. So I did quite well at sort of splitting it into sort of genres on my TBR with my thrillers in the cupboard and obviously all the piles of books behind me. Sadly, that's not going to change yet, but we are working to get the TBR down. So yeah, I think it's time I empty this and then we can see the real damage to this cart. I think I am going to still reuse this cart because it still kind of works, but I think I'm just going to put it in the basement with some of my books because I still need more book storage, to be honest. So I think I can just store some books on it down in the basement, but just not as heavy, and it won't be something I'm regularly pulling things on and off of, which I think will be good. So let's empty it. My lovely book protector, Eeyore, is going to have to love us and leave us for a moment, but I still think he's going to have his place on the cart. He's just kind of my little book mascot for some reason. I just love him to pieces. And I did hang my first little literary market tag up there. We'll see if it fits on the new one, what I'm going to do with this. It's fine. So let's empty it all. Okay, so everything's off of there. It is empty. It's definitely a little wobbly now, but you know, it is what it is. I feel a little sad because this was like the first part of my booktube journey, was going out and getting myself a TBR cart, which was much, much needed. And here's my little pile of books of everything that was on there. I've kind of kept them in the sections. So that pile is my series to continue with, and I've kind of got more like general fiction and historical fiction sort of in those back piles, and then my sort of summary romance type novels. Well, some of them are kind of Halloween-y, but romance type novels here. So they're still sort of organized. And then obviously I will still go through like all the piles behind me and just make sure that everything's sort of in its right section before I refill the cart. But I feel like generally the stuff on the cart stayed in a pretty good order and together. It's just sort of mixing new things in. It's time for me to move this cart. I will show you the full-on damage and we can compare it to my new one too. Okay, hopefully you can see quite well. It's kind of hard to get a really good zoomed out angle, but I just wanted you to see like a side-by-side comparison of my carts. So you can see that I've kind of gone for something very, very similar in size, but this is like a nice metal version. This is a cheap, lightweight plastic version. Like this literally weighs nothing. It's probably like not even 2 pounds. Whereas I feel like this is quite light for metal, which does have me a bit worried, but I think it's still probably around like 10 pounds or something. It's definitely a lot lighter, a lot heavier than this one. So here's a final close-up of my old one. You can probably sort of see the lean up close. I think you see it more outside, but yeah, this is how much damage there is to the wheels. Let me show you so you can see, just so I can tell you, do not do this. Do not buy a really cheap one like I did. You can see it's kind of warped, like that one's bending outwards a little bit. Like it could be worse, and it does do its job. So if you're really on a budget, this was like $18, but honestly, my new one here, this nice metal one, I think cost me $30. So for $12 more, I'm getting something that weighs so much better. And it already pushes across the carpet, which this, even new, didn't really like wheeling across the carpet. Like it was already resisting me. So I think these are better. In case you've ever thought about getting one and you haven't got one yet, definitely go metal, in my opinion. So let me wheel my new one to its new home, but then we're gonna go sort through everything before I fill it. But I just wanna make sure it does fit. Like it looks like the same size, but like knowing my luck, it's not going to or something. Pretty much a perfect fit to where it was before. But I'm gonna do a little rearrange of my books off camera. I'm not gonna make you watch all through that, not as detailed as last time. And like I said, I'll sort of show you what I'm doing, but yeah, I'm gonna do most of this off camera and then kind of catch you up on it. I feel like doing this organizing is very good for me. It's definitely going to help lower my TBR, I think, just because once things are sorted and organized, I feel more motivated. Okay, I've changed the angle a little bit since the beginning of the video because I think the lighting's slightly better this way. I'm not sure it gets my cart in quite as well, but the new one is here. But my books are sort of organized into piles, which I'm going to give you a quick tour of in a minute. But one thing I haven't shown you about my new cart is I actually come with these little pots. Let me see if I can separate them. So yeah, these little pots like this, and they just like hook on the side, so I can like clip them on, and then I can put things in them as well, which I think is really useful because I think it'll be like really good for bookmarks, etc. I do have like a little bookmark thing I have up there, like a little acrylic pot I use, but I actually think this might be better. So I think I might just move them across to the cart because it also makes sense when I'm grabbing a book off my TBR, then I can just pick my bookmarks at the same time. And I have 3 of these, so I don't know if I need all 3. We'll see. If you have any other ideas of what I could store in it, let me know. There are also little hooks too. Again, not sure what I will use them for. I feel like they're just a little bit too small because I was thinking, those sort of like page holders and stuff. I have some of them and I thought maybe I could hook them, but I think they're going to be a little bit tight, but I might try it. But let me give you a quick tour of my book organizing. Like I said, I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but this is how these piles are looking. I'm not sure if they're all going to fit on the TBR because there's a couple more. I added a couple that I found that are in series I've now started that I hadn't moved across to my like continuing pile yet. And just a couple of books that had got mixed up in the thriller cupboard. So they've now come out, or they're on the fantasy pile. So I've got like my romance Grim Tidings arc and stuff like that. And I think this is sort of like dark romance. So I just put it in this sort of like romance section. My fantasy piles have not changed all that much. I've still got kind of like my series to start over this way. And then sort of like my more standalone books or books that I only own the first of over here. So yeah, you'll see I added like the ones I got at the book convention I went to and things like that. So they're still here in their piles. I think that's a good place for these right now because fantasy would overfill my cart instantly. And then just to tidy up my cupboard and bring things out, make sure things weren't lost, we've got books to continue in a series, but they're not the books that I have next. Other books in a series in the cupboard is obviously I'm not going to pick them if they're not the next one I have to read. So it kind of keeps them out of my TBR for now. But obviously things I just add straight in once I'm onto those books. My Christmas books are also in there because I'm not picking them this time of year, just not. So I'm not letting the TBR jar make me pick these right now. And then I have all my sort of thrillers and my new horror at the bottom there to try at some point. But they just stay in the cupboard because otherwise my room looks way too much of a mess. And I am determined to get this TBR down. So yeah, I'm going to fill this up off camera because again, don't want to like dwell on things or make you just watch me move books around and organize, but I will show you the end result. And then it will be time to sort of rearrange my shelves, but I think I'm going to leave that for another day. So it's going to be part of this video, but I'm not filming it on the same day. It's super late. I am exhausted. I am hot. I'm not going to lie. So I think doing the TBR is enough for one day. Okay, I immediately run into a little bit of an issue because I do kind of like how I usually have it organized with like all my series to continue up here together. But my issue is that I started putting stuff on the second shelf, but I realized I can't get the books off of here unless there's like all the room to sort of like bend it round, so then I can't fill the shelf. So I think I'm just gonna have to change and not order by genre. I think I'm gonna have to just do like hardbacks on the top shelf. Unfortunately, I think I may have too many. But it might be that I just end up mixing some of my standalone fantasies in that paperback. So I think I'm mainly gonna have to have paperbacks on here, especially on those two lower shelves, because if the books are too tall, they're just not coming off. I don't really like it, but I think that's just how it's gonna be. But it's definitely better quality. You can tell from the fact that, you know, I can't even get the books in and out. They are very much there. They are very solid. It feels very solid. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to kind of forget organizing by genre a little bit and just sort of mix it paperbacks, which is kind of annoying because I do kind of want to keep my next in a series like together, but I think for now I'm just gonna have to go against that. If you have any ideas, let me know. But my shelves just aren't quite as tall as the other one, and the sort of shelves are slightly deeper, I think. So yeah, we'll see how I organize it. But if you have any ideas, or let me know how you do yours. Once I have less books, it's going to be less stressful. Okay, I'm filming this near the 4th of July, and I hope you do not hear all the fireworks that are going off. Hopefully it's sort of like filtered out through my microphone. But yeah, I have reorganized to the best of my ability. I think I'm kind of happy with it. I am going to keep my thrillers in the cupboard as always, but I've also gone through all my box sets that I haven't even started yet, and I've just taken out book 1 of each one to add to my TBR, and then all the others are also going to go in the cupboard. So it should just sort of like neaten up this space a little bit and make it feel a little bit better. I've also taken off anything I know I'm going to read next month and put it away for now, like not on my TBR. It's in a separate pile as my next month's read, so that clears space as well. So I'm going to get my phone out and just film a little bit, show you exactly how I've sort of organized this area, and hopefully you'll see what I've done. But if you have any tips or ideas, do let me know. So this is how this whole area is sort of looking. I have got all paperbacks on here, but they're still sort of sorted by genre. So these are sort of all my romances at the top. There are a few sneaky ones put around the back, but not many. I have not overloaded it how I usually do. I have literally kept it, I think there's between 2 and 6 books on each shelf behind. The rest are actually all at the front, which is quite good. So as you can see, more like my romances. These are more like all my random genres where I don't have loads of them. A bit of sci-fi, historical fiction, general fiction, things like that. There is a little bit of sort of more like cozy fantasy stuff at the end. And then I have fantasy-based books at the bottom. So these are kind of, yeah, now organised. Like I said, I pulled out some of my first books where I own the whole series just to put them on here. So I'm more likely to pick them as well. Because I think because they were all sealed, I just never really consider them as much when my TBR jar makes prompts as I could. And then I have my hardbacks all in just 2 piles. They're sort of in genre in that most of the ones at the back are more towards the fantasy realm, but they're not super sorted because I just feel like they're going to get messed up really, really fast. And then I just have this little side pile, which are my next to continue in a series. I kind of wanted them just kept together because I feel like they're ones that I might want to quickly find and reach for, so I know where they are. But I think this looks neater because I had 4 piles before and I feel like they were taller. I do think this cart fits slightly more on it, even though it's not much bigger. But yeah, it definitely seems to hold it better. It doesn't feel like it's overloaded, so hopefully it's not. But overall, I'm quite happy with it. So I've done a quick organize of my bookmarks because I didn't realize how much I own. So these are my more like papery type ones here that I've collected over the years. More leathery type ones, kind of random wooden one. Had that since I was a kid. All my kind of like pretty shiny metal ones, all my plastic type ones, all my sort of papery ones with tassels, and all my little like magnetic ones. So I just need to decide how to organize these. Okay, I've organized it all. My mascot's back. I did hang my little thing back on the side, my little sort of like Faye ball events thing. So in this one at the moment, I've got some more stuff to add in there when I get to it, but it's got like my book light and things. So it's kind of like reading accessories. And then I've got all my bookmarks on this middle one. They're most of them, apart from the sort of metallic and magnetic ones. I've put them in this one because they're quite short. So if they're in with the others, they're really hard to get my hand in and like actually grab them. But because this is quite empty, I can do that. And then obviously that one's the main one. The only annoying thing is it kind of covers my TBR, and I was like, I can't get the books out while these are on there because obviously they sort of block the books, but they slide along like super easy. so I can just easily sort of move them around and get out what I need. So I still think they make like quite a cute storage. I don't know if I love them. Am I going to keep it like this? I don't know. But to be honest, I used to use this as my bookmark storage, and obviously all my little magnetic ones I could never get to in the bottom, and it was getting a bit over full, and these do have a lot more room. So I think this is more practical. I was going to hang them on the side because then it wouldn't block the books as much, but then it just looked all a bit one-sided, and because I have my books here, I couldn't put them on that side. So that's what I've done for now, but let me know what you think and if you have any suggestions. But yeah, I am going to go run and shower now. So I'm going to love you and leave you, and I will see you when we organise the rest of my books. Okay, everyone, I am back. A little bit of a weird angle. It feels weird filming this far away, but I was like, I need to zoom out so you can see this whole shelf. So it is time, I think, to have a little rearrange on my books. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. Sadly, because of the shape of my office, I can't fit that many books in there. I have 2 of these size bookcases, and that's all I have room for in here, because sadly I have sloped ceilings. I can't fit full height bookcases. So my book space is a little lacking. However, I do have another small bookcase in the basement, and I've taken my old TBR cart down there and thought I can use it down there. But I thought I'd start with this one, mainly because I feel there's not that much I want to change about this shelf. This is my favorite one. I'm not gonna lie, I just like how it sort of turned out, how it looks. I do have things on top as well. I'll give you a better overview, but I want you to be able to see what actual books I have on here right now. And I'm going to share with you sort of like my thoughts, my process as I go through this. And then if there's anything you have ideas for, do let me know, because obviously, yes, I would have finished my rearranging after this video, but I'm always open to suggestions. And I like to sort of have a sort of spring clean rearrange of my books every so often, because I can't display everything. I do like to kind of have a lot of my more recent reads in case I refer to them again. So I like things sort of at hand. So it's more like favorites and recent reads that I tend to try and display. So this particular bookcase behind me is mainly my fantasies, but I do have a load of thrillers just sort of at the edge. These are like one of my like favorite thrillers, or ones where I have multiple by one author. My thoughts are to remove the thrillers from here and have like my bookcase downstairs as thrillers, or maybe the cart. I'm not really sure, but I'm thinking sort of display thrillers downstairs, because I mean, basement thrillers, they kind of go. Plus I am a teacher and I have a lot of kids coming here, and I think even though a lot of my fantasy books are not kid friendly, I feel the covers tend to be a little bit more kid friendly or inviting or welcoming into a house than a lot of like thriller covers can be. Like, it's not like the housemaid's super creepy, but it is someone looking through a keyhole, you know? So I'm thinking, I just think it will look prettier if I sort of have this all more fantasy based and make more sense. And then we'll have to see what I end up doing with the other shelf. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Remove all of the thrillers from here, and then I might rearrange some of the fantasies. Some of them might go away. I might replace them with others that I've read. And I probably will have some fantasies over on my other bookshelf, because that's probably one of my main genres, you know, that I have a lot of, especially because they have a lot of series, and I think it looks nicer to display the series than random books, I'm not gonna lie. But overall, I don't think I'm gonna change a lot on this. This is my Sarah J Maas shelf. I kind of want that to stay the same. Obviously with like the 2 new books that are coming out, I think I can fit 2 more on this shelf. After that, I don't know. I could technically tuck things behind, so that is an option. But we'll come to that problem when it arrives. For now, this is a rearrangement where the Sarah J Maas shelf is safe. Then we've got like my Rebecca Yarros fantasies. My romances and stuff by her are on the other shelf. I usually try and keep my writers together, but it just didn't really work here. And then currently I have my Lauren Roberts series, and then I have the Heartless Hunter duology. Anne Liang's Song to Drown Rivers, like one of my favorite sort of historical fantasy fictions that I love. I do have her romances hidden behind that one, because obviously I have a lot of space when I'm facing forwards, but you can't see them, so it doesn't like ruin the aesthetic, but they're actually quite easily available. Then currently I have The Poet Empress next to it. I love this book. Like, I wouldn't mind maybe displaying that one forwards instead of The Housemaid down here. But it is very similar vibes to Song to Drown Rivers, which is why I put it there. But we'll see. Then I've got For Whom the Bell Tolls, my Belladonna series. My Rachel Gillig books. Our Infinite Fates is just kind of there at the moment. Obviously all my like Harry Potter stuff. And you know, Harry Potter was such a huge part of my childhood. I don't care what anyone thinks about the writer or whatever right now. These I've owned for years. They're like my relics and they're staying. And then we've got a few more sort of fantasy based books down here where I want to have a little bit of a think and rearrange. And then these books over here are either ones that I took off more recently when I rearranged but wasn't sure if I want them back on there, or they are recent reads. So these are ones I'm not sure. Obviously a few of these are thrillers, so if I'm going to put thrillers downstairs, they'll automatically go downstairs, but these are ones I can choose to display if I want to. But I think let's have a look at the other shelf and my rough plans for that, and then I'll take off anything I'm committed to not having on that shelf, so I sort of know how much room I have to play with. So hopefully you can see sort of well enough what I have on these shelves. So this top one is mainly, I guess, cheesy romances. I've got like my Colleen Hoover on there, and then I've got Nicholas Sparks because, you know, I loved his books as a teen, continued with a lot of them. I've got Taylor Jenkins Reid, obviously a little bit of a mix of genres, but I guess mainly falls into romance. And then I do have my little Jane Austen collection at the edge because I love Jane Austen, and they're really pretty books, so I think they look good there. I kind of went with the more girly colour books over here, so I am thinking that when I start mixing up some of my fantasies, I'm probably keeping some over here. Maybe it would be more like the cute whimsical fantasies that move over here. I think that makes more sense. I sort of did the second shelf almost colour coordinated. Not quite, but almost. And these are more my random literary fictions. There's a few random kind of classics mixed in there. There's a few romances. It's a little mixed. They're kind of I really like these books, but I'm not really sure where to categorize them because I probably don't have enough displayed on my shelf. Then you do reach Kristen Hanna. I've actually only got two over here. I have now read The Women, so that is waiting for a place, and I feel like that definitely deserves one on the shelf. Emily Henry, I kind of like having one of hers displayed, but maybe I'll swap that. But I like that it's pink because my room overall is sort of like this pink and green theme. So I feel like the books that stand out into the front, it looks kind of nice if they kind of match. That being said, I have Elfie out here, but it has the green lettering, even though it's a bit red. But that's why I went for it. And then my Abby Jimenez are also on here. I've got my Frederick Bachman books, my Erin Sterling, my Finlay Donovan series, which are kind of like a murder mystery series, so maybe they belong more with the kind of like thrillers, I guess. I wouldn't really call them thrillers, but I guess they're more that direction. But they're quite pretty books, like how they colour. I've only got the first two over here right now. I've kind of got some random magical historical fiction type books. My Labyrinth book, which I need that somewhere because Labyrinth's my life. Then I have the Hunger Games over here, which does feel a bit weird because I have Harry Potter over there. And they're like two of my only older series that I have displayed, just because I feel like the Hunger Games is continuing a lot and Harry Potter is just, you know, a huge part of my childhood. So I could switch the Hunger Games over to there, but I don't think it matters too much. You know, we'll see. Because Hunger Games is also a little bit more dystopian than like fantasy, you know? So I'm thinking I could more have like dystopian over here and pure fantasy over there. I don't think I'm going to be able to fully categorize this by genre, which is why it's really hard because I feel like I'm a little OCD with things and then I can't decide and it's difficult, you know? Then down on the bottom down here, we have all my sort of memoirs, biographies, that kind of thing. I don't have a huge collection of them. I don't read a lot of them. There's a couple already down in the basement, but I am thinking of just shifting them to the basement because even though I do really like them, I just feel like I should make room more for fiction because that's what I read the most up here. And then I can have a nice sort of like thrillers and biographies and stuff downstairs, like either more moody or ones that I don't read as much of. Because also, as much as I do love reading some memoirs, especially about some of my favorite people, I honestly don't feel they're the kind of books that I'm really going to regularly pick up again. And then down this side is a little historical fiction section of just like my favorite historical fictions. Kristen Hanna probably would fit better with those, but I don't know. I feel like this is more whatever it wants to be. That's going to be more fantasy shelf over the other side of the room. This is going to be a little bit more random. Let's have a play around with this one. I'm not going to do all of this on camera because I feel like this video will just go on and on, but I will pause, show you things as I go through, as my brain works, or maybe we'll just skip to the end and what I've done and you can give me advice. We'll see, because I do want the focus list to be my new TBR and like organizing that, but I just need a spring clean. I do think that by rearranging books and feeling good about books does encourage me to read and therefore helps me with my sort of TBR takedown summer series. Okay, I think I've had a little bit of a rearrange on everything. So it's not how everything's going to stay, but there's a few books that I know will be coming onto these shelves soon. So I've sort of left some gaps. So let me explain. I've currently not changed the top, but what I will say is I will have some more books from those authors coming through and filling some of the space at some point. And I think at that point, my Colleen Hoover is going to leave this room. But for now, I've left her on there, but she's kind of awkward because I want to keep Verity with it, but it just doesn't suit the vibe of this side. So for now, I've just left her books there, but I think she's just going to go to the basement once I get more from the others up on that top shelf, because I feel like I just like the other authors that little bit more. The second shelf down has changed a little bit. We've got a few different sort of ones through here. There's some like general fiction, like some of my favorites. They're probably gonna stay as things change through. But there are a few sort of random romances that might slowly filter their way out, as some that I have like a lot of repeat authors come through, because I do just think it looks a little bit better if they're more like categorized in authors or series. And then this shelf now, I have changed to kind of magical realism, historical fiction. This side is much more truly historical fiction. This is more like magical realism, but a lot of it has that sort of historical fiction feel. So I've still used my little bookends to kind of separate them. I've used this little Van Gogh teddy to put in the middle, but I know a lot of those books are going to grow and I'm going to get a lot more on the shelf. So as the gaps get smaller, I will replace it with a smaller decor item, but for now it felt a bit empty. So I thought he could sit on there for a while because he's super sweet. And you know, Van Gogh, old art, kind of fits with historical fiction, kind of. And then the bottom shelf, you probably can't see too well, but it is more kind of like whimsical fantasies over this way. I do have a kind of dark academia one over there. Don't know what to do with that. Plus I've got the second one and I like the books. I do want them left out here. So there is a gap because I know that I'm going to read the second one soon enough, and then that can just fill the space. Like I said, whimsical fantasies. The thing is, they're very pretty books. They're not always my favorites. So I don't know how long they'll survive there, but for now, that's what we're going to do. I have kept Elfie out, even though I don't like the book. So I feel like, oh, this is a weird one to display. But I have quite a lot of Wicked decor in my room. I have like a coaster over there that clients use. I have a little blanket and cushion on my chair that are Wicked themes. So it just kind of fits the room. Okay, so it's less about it being a favorite book and more about it just fits the vibe. The next that I have Labyrinth, you know, still a kind of like whimsical fairy tale idea. I mean, Wicked's kind of dark fairy tale, but you get the idea. Then we go into the Hunger Games, because Labyrinth, the Hunger Games, all sort of part of my childhood. I mean, Hunger Games is more teenage years for me, but you know, you get the picture. Then I've actually put the Ariel Sullivan books here, so Conform and Beneath. They are two of my favorites, so I knew I definitely wanted them in this room, but they are more like dystopian than actual fantasy, so I thought they actually fitted quite well with the Hunger Games. And then right in this corner we have Project Hail Mary and The Ministry of Time, which were like two of my favorite sci-fi reads. So they're a little bit random, but I just really love those books, so I want those two to be part of my main room. Even if they're not a main genre for me, I love them so much, I want them in here. So I've kind of squeezed them in the bottom because I kind of feel like they're not, you know, sci-fi, dystopian. It kind of links. There's a lot of usual like technology and control and stuff in dystopian. So it kind of links, you know? But this is how this whole bit's looking. So this is my little decor on top. Marie is a bit random, but I just love her because Marie's my middle name. And this is kind of like my little music books collection, which I think is kind of sweet. It kind of fits in my little book vase thing. So like I said, this one's not changing much right now. We kind of got this one. A lot of these are going to swap out as I get more books for the same authors in here. So they're kind of just placeholders. Then we've got our sort of magical realism, historical fiction with Mr. Bear holding the space right now. And then our more whimsical fantasies into dystopian, into sci-fi. So yeah, that's kind of what it's looking right now. I feel like it's pretty decent. Excuse the kind of mess in there. It looks messy. It's all my like work stuff, my music stands, microphones, things like that. But yeah, that's how that one's looking. I think it's better than it was. We'll need work. We'll have books replaced as we go. And now here we are back over here. So Sarah J. Maas shelf has not changed. The shelf below, the only change is I swapped out this end and I now have my Serpent and the Wings of Night duology there. I don't know if I'm going to continue the other books in the series. If I do, it's going to need more space. But for now, it fitted well. And that's where it's going. The one below, this hasn't really changed. I removed Infinite Fates. I've left a gap because I've got the second of The Night and the Moth out this year. That can just then go straight in there. So then the main thing that has changed is this bottom shelf. Obviously removing the thrillers gave me a lot more room. So we kind of have some series, some sort of favorite series. I've got my When the Moon Hatched, Show the Sparrows. Then I did display The Poet Empress out because I just love the book, okay? So even though I kind of wanted to leave it with A Song to Drown Rivers, it's too beautiful and not to have as one of my display forward books right now. Then down here is more standalones. I do have my Darker Shades of Magic series. I've still got the third book, so I've left space on there so I can fit that in. And then I just picked a few more recent fantasy reads that I'm not quite ready to sort of put out of this room yet. I went with The Night Ends with Fire, which is the Mulan retelling, because I want to get the second book and still read that, so I think it's nice to have it to hand. I've got Soulfire by Samantha Nell, which is one of my favourite arcs of this year. Also Beneath the Burning Throne by Robin Jones. That's also a really good fantasy arc that I got, so I kind of wanted to keep those out. Red City by Marie Lu. Love, love, love that book. It kind of has Darker Shade of Magic vibes to me a little bit, so that's why I've placed them together. Then I just put Catabasis there because I guess it's kind of fancy in the fact that they, you know, go to hell. So it's a little bit like mythical fantasy, which is the same as For Whom the Bell Tolls, so I thought they went well together. And our Infinite Fates is a bit random. I just put it in the end. It looked pretty. I like the book, okay? And there we have it. That's how I've organised them. I have sadly had to kick out Silver Elite because this is a beefy book, and I feel like out of the series over here, it's probably my least favourite one. It will get a prominent place in the basement because I do want to still get the second book and continue reading, but I can't fit them all, okay? I just have to be selective, and that's the one I chose. So this area of the room looks so much nicer because I have my little reading nook, and then I love the display on the top of this one so much better. Just with my fake plant, my little dragon Kindle case. I just leave him over this bookstore advent calendar that I got. I honestly like the packaging more than anything I got in the advent calendar. It just looks really cute up here, you know? My little globe, and then, like I said, Sarah J. Maas shelf. Next one, I love all my little trinkets. I mean, as we get more books come out in the Fourth Wing series, this is going to obviously have to change at some point. But for now, I like it. And then we have the next one and the bottom one. So I feel overall with how this one is looking, I am pretty happy with that. Like overall, the room is looking good for my books. We've got that section, my little reading nook, my new little reading piles, which is starting to look neater and less. A little bit. I do have my thrillers in the cupboard. Actually, I really organized this so I can show you. So yeah, I got it quite organized in here. I have my little sort of like Kindle stand right there when I want to use it. Then I've got all my thrillers at the front so that I can see them when I'm going through like TBR and stuff. And all the ones behind are all the books of like series I need to continue. So not the next ones in the series because they'd be out on my actual like easy to find TBR, but much, much neater. Like so much neater. I feel good about it. And then you go across here. Kind of my more music teaching space, but this is how this one's looking. So overall feeling good. So yeah, there we have it. There we have my reorganization. I do need to take all the books down and reorganize them in the basement, but honestly there's not gonna be much to see down there, so I don't feel like you really need to see it, but I hope you understand what I've done with my books. Let me know your thoughts if you've got any better ideas on what I could do. It's hard when you just don't have like the space for like display, but I feel so much better for doing it. I feel like I'm gonna just feel a little bit more involved in just wanting to pick up books, get on with series and things like that. So even though this isn't making reading progress towards my kind of TBR takedown, it is helping because I feel like being organized makes me more motivated to read. Does anyone else feel like this? Do you feel like being organized motivates you more? But anyway, I think I should just finish the video here. I feel like it's plenty long enough by the time I've edited this. I'm a little worried about how long it's going to come out, but hopefully I will edit a lot out and you won't be too bored watching this. I know reorganizational videos aren't for everyone. I know some people find them really therapeutic and enjoy it and enjoy giving their opinion on sort of ideas. And I know for some people it's just not their thing, and that's fine. If you've made it this far and it's not your thing, thank you very much. But anyway, I'm gonna leave, take on this mammoth task of taking everything down to the basement, which is just way easier to do, not on camera, and I will see you again real soon. Bye!